Question one, we want to remember that when we see y equals, but it's a word problem, it's not anything, it's not points, it's not a graph, then we're looking to see if we can P on the slope. That's what we're looking for. Can we P on the slope? So remember, P means per, each, or every. So if we see these words, we identify the slope right away. So on this, right away, we see per mile. So this 20 cents has to go in front of X. So it's not going to be A, and it's not going to be C, because those have 30s in front of X. Then the other number is usually our y-intercept. It's usually a starting point or some sort of one-time fee. And so right here, you see it, this 30 is our y-intercept. Now, we're going to look and see if it's positive or negative. If you don't know, then always choose the positive, because usually you're starting with something which is a positive thing, okay? And so it says a car rental company charges 20 cents per mile and a daily fee of $30. When we're adding up all of our charges, everything's going to be positive. And so, yes, this is going to be everything positive, which would be D. Number two. So on this one, we look to see, because it's got y equals in a word problem, we're looking to see if we can P on the problem, and I can't. Okay, so when we look at this, it doesn't have per, each, or every. And so we're looking to see if there is something that we do one time, that would be our y-intercept, and something that we do over and over and over again would be our slope, okay? And so when we look at this, it says, Julie recently bought a smartphone with 50 songs on it, okay? So it started with 50 songs, so that's a one-time thing, okay? Then it says she can download 5 songs a week. Now, I know this is not per, each, or every, but we're doing this every week. Could you insert the word per, each, or every right here? She can download 5 songs per week, each week, every week. Yes, we could. This right here is definitely our slope. So the slope has to go in front of X. So it's not going to be these two. And then when we're looking to see if this is positive or negative, if you don't know, go with the positive. But yeah, we're starting with 50 songs. That's a positive 50 right there. So it would be A. So like I said, if you don't know, always go with the positives. On this question here, these are the same questions that we've been answering, but then down here, we're going to type in what they mean. And so right here, it says, what is the y-intercept? So where it says each hour, that's definitely our slope, because per, each, or every is our slope. Per, each, or every is our slope. So the other number has to be our y-intercept. So our y-intercept is going to be 125. So write down for 3A, write down 125. Okay, for 3B, it says, what does the y-intercept mean? So it's the same question, but what does the y-intercept mean? So I've told y'all that y-intercept is always a beginning. Well, it's kind of weird to say that 125 miles is the beginning. You know, it's definitely the beginning of where we started tracking him. So what I would say is this means that he already traveled. So write this down, already traveled 125 miles. So that's the meaning of it. Okay. Now, if you said it was the beginning or the starting point, I would go ahead and take it, because it is the beginning or the starting point of us tracking him. So by the time we started tracking him, he had already traveled 125 miles. Okay. But I think the better interpretation of what it means is he already traveled 125 miles. Okay, so now we're looking at 3C and 3D. So still the same question, nothing's changed. What is the slope? So we said slope was 75 miles each hour. So the answer is 75. Now, what does the slope mean? Okay, so the slope means kind of this right here. He is traveling 75 miles each hour. And notice that the slope means we continue to do it. So he's not just traveling 75 miles, he's traveling 75 miles each hour. And then the last, which is 3E, and I will try to go fix this for later classes. 3E is we want the equation. So the equation is going to be y equals, we said the slope was 75. So 75x, slope always goes next to x. And then the y-intercept was 125, and it was positive because he had already traveled. So that is your equation right there. Y equals 75x plus 125. So question 4A and 4B are both talking about the same thing. And I'm going to look at 4B to begin with. So we talked about anytime we see y equals with the word problem, we're going to look to see if we can p on the slope, right? But this does not have y equals, so we cannot try to p on the slope. It doesn't work on this one. And so on this one, when we see that all of these are equal to, are you letting him in, Coach?
Out. He's coming back in.
Okay. That, let me know when he's got his audio on, so I want to make sure I talk with him real quick.
Okay.
So when we see that this is 12,000, then we go back into the question and we see that it says the profit for the month was 12,000. Anytime we see that, we have a little trick that can make this question easy. So I'm going to clear. Does he have his audio?
Yeah, he's just got on.
Okay, Jeremiah, if your connection is bad and it keeps kicking you off, I want to make sure that you know that probably after lunch, I will go post this video and that you can click on this and watch the video if you're not able to stay on, okay? Maybe watching the video will be a little bit easier for you, okay? Matter of fact, I might just try to send it out to everybody. So I'll try to send out that video. I think I sent out yesterday's and the day before's video as well. But if you keep getting kicked off, that is an option because I know sometimes we keep getting kicked off. Okay. So on this question right here, so what we're looking for, anytime we see that it is a profit question, is we want to look for the cost. The cost is a dead giveaway to what this answer is. So we read this question up here, and it wants to know what is the cost. So it says, in a month, the company sells a certain number of sofas. It cost $4,000 to make sofas. So what is the cost? The cost is $4,000. And don't put any commas, just put 4000. That's how you're going to plug it in. Now, how are we going to use that down here? Because this is the same question. The cost is always something that we subtract. Okay, so I'm looking for minus 4,000. Well, A has a minus, but not minus 4,000. B doesn't even have a minus. Okay, C and D both have minus 4,000, but D says minus 4,000x. There was nothing that said we were supposed to put this next to x. We are just minusing 4,000. And that's a dead giveaway to this word problem. So the word problem looks really tough, but as soon as you see it's a profit question, okay, then we look for cost, and that cost gives away what the answer is. It's minus 4,000. All right. Number 5, NCAA quarterback statistics, and they want us to estimate. So they want us to estimate how many passes will be completed if a quarterback attempts 500 passes. So this is passes attempted, and this is passes completed. So what we're going to do here is we're going to look at 500 passes attempted, which is right here. And we're going to go up to where we see all this data and you see that there's a pattern right here. Okay. And so I know my answers have to be somewhere in this pattern. It's got to follow along with this pattern right here. And so we know it's going to be somewhere in here. Now, your job is not necessarily to find the answer. It's to find out which of these could not possibly be it. So I'm going to start down here at A, 250. 250 would be right here. That's way too low. And so, nope, that's not it. 350. 350. Okay, 350 looks like that's a reasonable answer. Okay, so let's keep going and eliminating the rest of these. So we got 400. So 400 would be way too high, and then 450 would be even higher. And so when we look at this, the only one that makes sense is this 350 right here. And so 350 would be our answer. So if you go through and eliminate, all the ones it can't be, then usually it's pretty obvious which one it is. Okay. All right. So when we look at this one, I'm looking at my answers and I see a lot of domain and range. So this is obviously domain and range. Now, domain and range of a word problem, we consider to be kind of tough. All right. So if in the end you're like, I can't do this, then you guess C and you move on with life. All right. What we're going to do when they give you domain and range, we're only going to look at the domain. And then I'm going to look and see if there's anything that we can eliminate. So we're going to start with domain is X's. Well, I don't know anything here. There's no X's. This has X, no letters there, and this has X. So there's nothing we can eliminate to start off with. So we need to find where they tell us what X and Y are. And they should always do this. So it looks like Y is dollars and X is the number of shirts purchased. Purchased didn't make any sense. So the number of shirts purchased. Okay, so I look up here and the only numbers they give me are all dollars. So these are all Y's. So we're going to have to read this and see if we can figure out what our domain is, because the domain is the number of shirts. So it says a gift shop sells t-shirts for $20 for the first one purchase plus 15 for each additional shirt. Price includes tax. If a customer has exactly $100 to spend on t-shirts. Okay, so they don't even tell us how many shirts he buys. We have to think about this logically. So first off, I know that I'm buying t-shirts, right? And only have $100 to spend. Look at these domains right here. Which of these look like that we're, counting shirts, and which of these looks like how much money we spent? So right here, that looks like the number of shirts. That could be the number of shirts. This right here looks like I'm not buying 95 shirts. This looks like how much money we spent. So that is not right. Money would be domain range, sorry. 1 through 5 also kind of looks like how many shirts we're buying. Now, when I look at this, notice on these, both of these have 0. Can I buy 0 shirts? Sure you can. I do it all the time. When, if we go shopping and my daughters go, hey, I want a shirt. I'm like, no, done. See, I didn't buy any shirts. So it's very possible to not buy shirts because I don't buy shirts all the time. And so right here where this says 1 through 5 shirts, this isn't accurate because you can buy no shirts. That is a possibility. Okay, now I know you're like, but it said he was going to buy shirts. Yeah, well, he could have changed his mind. So 0 is an option. All right, so the question now, obviously he can buy 0 to 6 shirts. Okay, because that's what both of these domains say, 0 to 6. Now, when we look at this, when it's written like this, where it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, this is counting shirts. Okay. And then when it says 0 to 6, this would be measuring shirts. Okay. So are we measuring how many shirts we have? So like, are we, pouring these shirts into a measuring cup, or are we taking a tape measure and measuring all these shirts that we're buying? No, we're counting how many shirts we're buying. So we're going to buy 0 or 1 shirt or 2 shirts or 3 shirts. So the answer would be F right here. Now, if you're like, oh my gosh, this is Chinese to me, I don't know what you're talking about, then guys, you would get C on this. We are not saying this is easy, okay? But if you can eliminate stuff, and then if you can figure out if you're counting or measuring, then, you can do this. This is how you make, A's and B's on these questions. All right. So number 7 is another one that kind of looks like this. I see this right here. So, yep, right here, range. So range is our Y's. And so if range is Y's, then we know it can't be this X right here. Now, I know it's not going to be this. I'll mark it all off here in a second. I want you to see something. They're kind of giving away and saying that the X's, the domain, is 1 through 4. So up here on C, when I see 1, 2, 3, 4, that's probably my domain, okay? And so if you're not sure how to do this, but you do know, because range is Y's, you do know you can mark off the X. If you see that this is 1 through 4, you could probably mark that one off too. It doesn't guarantee anything, but if you don't know what you're doing, there's a really good chance that if I mark this one off, I mark that one off. And you can see how these are both similar to each other. So now I've got to figure out if I'm counting these or if I am measuring. Okay. And so what do we know about Y and X? So Y, which is what we're looking for, looks like the cost in dollars. So I'm looking for dollars. I see these $2 right here, but notice I don't have, anything that says 40 or 25. So, let's just see if we're counting this stuff or measuring. And so it says that we have Spackler's Lawn Care charges $40 for an appointment fee. So $40 is a one-time cost, plus 25 per hour. So 25 per hour would be 25x. It says partial hours are rounded up to a whole hour. Here's what that means. If they mow for 30 minutes, they're not going to charge you 30 minutes. They're going to round it up and they're going to charge you 1 hour. So we're not doing continuous. They might be mowing continuously, and time is usually continuous, but because they're rounding up to the nearest hour, then they're either going to charge you for 1 hour of mowing, 2 hours of mowing, 3 hours. That's counting the hours right there. And so it's going to be listed out like this right here. So it's going to be A. Now, how did they get 65? So they charge you $40 just for showing up. Then they charge you $25 for every hour. So if they only work 1 hour, then they're going to charge you $40 plus the 25 for 1 hour, and that's $65. That's where they get that 65. If they work another hour, they're going to add $25 onto that, and that's 90. Once again, this is kind of tough. So if you're like, this is Chinese, this week has been a lot of word problems. And so if you've struggled with it, that's okay. We're not depending on it. We're depending on the easy stuff we did before this. Okay. So I don't want you to stress over this if you're struggling. Okay. Matter of fact, if you could at least say that this was range and eliminate C and D and give yourself a 50-50 shot, I'm going to be pretty happy with that. All right. So now it looks like we're kind of moving into some old stuff. So not this week. So this week has been all word problems. Okay. This has been the stuff that we were working on before then. Doesn't make it easy, but this is kind of some older stuff here. All right. So we can see lots of different parallel perpendicular questions. But when it says parallel perpendicular to the y-axis, this is the question where we've said you need to draw this picture. So if I were you, obviously you're not required, but if I were you, I would practice drawing this right here. So the y-axis is this vertical axis right here. And that's the y-axis. Now, we're not drawing this because this is my line. We're drawing this because now I need to draw a line that's parallel. So what would parallel lines look like? They go side by side. And so I'm going to draw another line that goes right beside this. Now, this is the line that's going to give away our answer. So to get the answer, we need to know the slope of this line. And so here's slope dude right here. And if slope dude tried to skateboard on this, he's going to die. He's going to be undefined. And we need you to connect the word undefined to either Hoy or Vux. And undefined would be Vux. So we need you to know this Hoy or Vux. If you do, then this question actually becomes really easy. So if you draw the picture and you connect it to Hoy or Vux, this becomes an easy question. If you can't connect it to Hoy or Vux, then you might need to just guess C. So in Hoy and Vux, the X means it's everything X. There are no Y's. We're going to get rid of that, and we're going to get rid of that. Okay, now I know it's between these two, and it's everything X, including the X coordinate right there. And so we're going to have X equals 1. It's not this because that's the Y coordinate. And so the answer is A. All right. So I want you to see the difference between this perpendicular and what we just did. So this perpendicular actually is perpendicular to a line. It's not perpendicular to the x-axis. Now, I know perpendicular is hard. So what I have taught y'all to do is to focus in on parallel. Parallel is much easier. Parallel slopes are the same. So how does knowing that parallel slopes are the same help me? Well, if the slope here is 3, then the parallel slopes would also be 3. So these lines are parallel, but I'm not looking for parallel, so I'm going to mark them off. So what just happened? Now look at what's left. These must be perpendicular. So if you know parallel and you eliminate the parallel, then the questions will tell you this is perpendicular, and we're gonna type these in and see which one contains this point. So we're going to type in, so we're going to go home and type in. I'm going to go ahead and just clear this out. So control divide. I think it was a negative 1/3x. And we're going to start with -6. Hit enter. We always hit menu 5-1. Now remember, this is not an answer. This allows me to check -3 right here. So we're going to type -3. Hit enter, and it says -3 and -5, and that's what we were looking for. So the answer is A. Remember, those were gone. All right, number 10. Okay, so number 10, you could type in all these y equals into the calculator and then match this picture. So you just would look and tell me if the picture matches. Okay, but there's an easier, quicker way. Okay, we always look for slope first and tell me if it's positive or negative. Now notice I'm not going to actually find the slope because a lot of kids are bad with slope. We just want to know if it's positive or negative. So I draw slope dude on the left. Now is slope dude going uphill or downhill? He's going uphill, and it's hard to go uphill. And so you're breathing real heavy. It's puff, puff, positive. So we can eliminate all the negative answers. So we can eliminate B and C, but you got to know slope is the number in front of X. So both of these are positive right here. Then the back number right here, this is the y-intercept. And so we just need to see where it crosses the y-axis. Well, it crosses at a +6. And remember, if it's above the center, it's positive. If it's below the center, it's negative. So this is a +6 right here. So the answer has to be D. Now, in the end, if you don't know slope and y-intercept, or at least how to tell if it's positive or negative, then type all these into the calculator and just tell me if it matches. We cannot afford to miss this question right here, especially on the STAR test, okay? So you at least type these in and match the picture. All right. So number 11, once again, it's another slope question, but this is just slope. So the one thing I expect us to be able to do is tell me if it's positive or negative. So is slope due going uphill or downhill? He's going uphill. So that would make it puff, puff, positive. It's hard to go uphill. And so we can eliminate all the negative answers. Now, if you don't know how to find slope, then we're going to use Shaver's little trick, which is always choose the fraction. Most of the time, they're giving us lines that aren't all that steep, and those are usually fractions. Okay. In the end, how you actually find it is you find your two perfect points, and then you're going to make an L going from one point to the other point. Doesn't matter which one you start with, so just put your pencil on a point. What does matter is you have to go up if you're at this point and down at this point. You have to do the rise first. So we're going to go up 1 and over 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you say it, you're going to hear yourself say 1 over 4. And so which one has 1 over 4? Okay. Number 12. Okay, this one we consider to be easy, but it's going to take a little bit of time because we've got y equals and we're checking these points right here. So this takes a little bit of time. So we're going to type in y, or the 2x plus 6 anyways. So we don't type in the y equals. So go open up a brand new graph. We're typing 2x plus 6. And then we always hit menu 5-1. So this is not an answer. That simply allows me to type in -4, and I'm looking for a +2. So -4. Okay, this is close. So I didn't get +2, but I got -2. So we have a rule that makes our life easier, that if you ever get the right number but the wrong sign, change both of these signs. So I'm going to change this to a minus and this to a negative, and that would be D down here. So we're going to skip down and go to D. So I'm going to hit tab and go up and then switch this to a minus and a minus, hit enter, menu 5-1. And we did get our -4 and +2 now. And then the other one I believe was -5. And it was -5 and +4. And yeah, -5 and +4. So you got to check both of them. And they both checked out. So D would be your answer. Okay, we've got to be able to get those right there. Those are easy, easy questions. It takes time because you got to type in the calculator, but it's easy because the calculator is doing all the work. Okay, so if that last one was easy, this is extremely easy. Okay, so we got our y equals here, but we're not typing this into the calculator because they give us slope. Anytime they give you slope, we eliminate anything that doesn't have 2 in front of x because that's where slope's located. So this has 2 in front of x. This one does not. This one does not. And this has -2, and -2 is not the same as +2. So our answer here would be A. And then just to show you, the back number, which is the y-intercept, also matches there. All right. So that was extremely easy if you know slope and y-intercept. Okay, so we have another one where we have y equals, but this time they're giving me the table, and a table is nothing but points. So we'll type in the x and see if we get the y. We have to check at least 2 of them. So we'll type in 4 and type in 3. Okay. All right, so we're going to type in 2x minus 5. So we're going to go start a brand new graph, and we're going to go 2x minus 5. Hit enter. Menu 5-1, and then we're typing in, I think it was 4. So was that 4-3? Nope, it was supposed to be 4-3. All right, so we got the right number, but the wrong sign. So we're going to change both of these. So we're going to change this to a positive and this to a negative, which is actually B. So let's hit tab, go up. We're changing this to a positive and changing this to a negative. Hit enter. Menu 5-1, and we get 4-3, and then we're going to test 3 and see if we get -1. We did, so B is my answer right there. So B is the answer. Okay, this one, if you know undefined and you know Hoy and Vux, undefined connects with what? Vux. And so if you know this, then you know that our answer has to have just X's, no Y's. So we eliminate this, eliminate this, eliminate this. The only one with just X's would be C. If there were two with just X's, then you always choose the one that has the X coordinate because it's all X's. There are no Y's. Okay. And let's see. Okay, so here's another one that says perpendicular, but it's perpendicular to the x-axis. So we have to draw the x-axis here. So anytime that it's parallel perpendicular to the x-axis or y-axis, you've got to draw that axis. Now, this is not what we're looking for. This allows me to draw a perpendicular line. So remember, parallel is side by side. Perpendicular is going to cross at a 90-degree angle. So it's going to cross at a 90-degree angle. And then we need the slope of this new line. So if we draw slope, dude, he's going to fall off if he tries to skateboard on that and die. So he is undefined. So that would be Vux, undefined. And so it's got to be an X. So no Y's are allowed. And then it's got to be one of these two. So if it's X's, it's all X's, including the X coordinate right here. So the answer would be D. Okay. All right, so this is just a basic equation. This is not y equals. Well, where do we do basic equations? We can't do it under graphs because there's no y equals. So we do it under regular calculator. Now, if you have forgotten because you're not looking at my poster how to find nsolve, which is menu 3.1, hit menu. What class is this? This is algebra. Okay, so you click on algebra and it's numerical solve, nsolve. Okay, so if you ever forget, just remember you're in algebra and that will help you figure it out. All right, we're going to type this in. So it was 4.9x plus 4.4 is equal to, I think it was 19.1. Let's go see if that's right. Yep, so we just type it in the way we see it. When we get done, you have to put a comma, and then you have to tell it what letter we're looking for. We're looking for X. So once you do that, just hit enter and we get 3. So the answer to this one is just 3. All right, and then this last question, some of y'all heard us talking about this at the very beginning. So we had a question like this on our last test, and the last few years we've seen a question like this on the STAR. Now, we cannot plug this into the calculator because y is not by itself, okay? But before we talk about that, the first thing we always do, which I did not do last period, is always tell us if the slope is positive or negative. Is this slope positive or negative? So slope, dude, would be going uphill. That's positive. So if y'all remember, when x and y are not on the same side, then the slope is still in front of x, even though there's parentheses. So this is our slope right here, okay? So if slope has to be positive, this has a negative 1/4. That's not right. This has a negative 1/4. That's not right. So we just need to test these two right here. All right. So now I was a good teacher. All right. So now we still can't plug this into the calculator. So we have a little trick. Okay. Anytime that we want to get y by itself, and we're not talking about y and x on the same side, I just need to get rid of this -1 right here. We can bring this to the other side simply by changing the sign. And so if I want to get rid of this -1, I'm going to bring it over to the other side and make it a +1 and get rid of it. The big thing is if you bring it over here, you have to change the sign. Now we do have y equals, and we can type this into our calculator. Coach, who left?
We lost Jeremiah a while ago, and then we just lost, I'm trying to think who it was.
Jojo?
Yeah, Jojo, yeah.
All right, so we're gonna go type this into our calculator and then just see if this matches. So we're typing in a positive 1/4 parentheses x plus, wasn't it? Or was it minus? I forget. -5, close parentheses, and then at the end it was +1. So now we can type this in and tell me, does this match that line? Look how it barely goes above the middle. I'm sorry, it's barely below the middle and it crosses at 1. I mean, that's it right there. Now, there were 2 points on there, so I want to show you if they give you the points, you could check them. So 5 and 1 was one of them, and -3 and -1 was the other. So you could always check it. But in the end, I want to make sure that you see we could type this in if we simply move this number to the end and change the sign. Now we have y equals. All right, that is the last question. We are now done.